What is up? What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing, man? I'm tired of running for shade. Okay. This says 2 minutes ago, man. New details about Malcolm's death changes everything. I have to, I guess, report and watch this stuff. Always a first time reaction. And I'm curious to see what is going on, or what they gonna say is going on, you know, and I'm just putting it out there. I don't know too much about the information, but at the same time, I'm just reporting it. So y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's check this out, man. I hope this is not any bull. Y'all let me know in the comments if you think
tired
so.
Of running for shade. And aren't you tired of being hustled and played? And aren't we all tired of crying about how hard it is to be black in America, even if it looks like we've got it made?
Has this been difficult for you?
Yeah. Because when you watch someone who you know and love, you know, go through what he's going through.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, dead at the age of 54 on a drowning accident while he was vacationing with his family in Costa Rica.
Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the iconic star who once lit up our screens as Theo Huxtable, is gone. But now, new details are surfacing, and they don't just raise eyebrows, they raise alarms.
Me and Eddie really did not get along.
In real life?
In real life.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Like,
Wow.
we didn't get, but every single week before taping, we'd come together, we'd put our hands together, we'd bow, and we'd pray before we go out there.
Because what's being revealed? It's not just shocking, it's inconvenient. And suddenly, the timeline doesn't add up. The questions no one wanted to ask, they're demanding answers.
But freedom has its limits, so here we are, tear-streaked, salt-stained faces. Traces of trauma and pain lace our DNA like our black pride is cut and laced with self-hate.
Was this really just a tragic accident? Or is there more to this story than we were ever meant to know? Let's break it all down. The entertainment world was rocked by the tragic news. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, the beloved Cosby Show star, had died at the age of 54 in Costa Rica.
54.
The initial reports confirmed his death was an accidental drowning, swept away by a dangerous rip current.
People reports that the 54-year-old was in Costa Rica on a family vacation and accidentally drowned while swimming.
But new details emerging from the scene paint a starker picture, one that suggests this wasn't just a tragic accident, but a preventable disaster. And the more you dig, the more one thing becomes painfully clear. This shouldn't have happened. Authorities officially ruled Warner's death as asphyxia due to submersion. He was pulled from the water at Playa Grande, a picturesque beach known among locals and surfers. But don't let the postcard view fool you. That same paradise hides a brutal reputation.
Can you tell me the fate of the people who consciously take the bait and embrace the very traits placed upon them by their captors, who by design are inclined to keep them believing they're second rate? I'll wait.
So what went wrong? Well, this is where the story takes a chilling turn. On that fateful Sunday, no lifeguards were present at Playa Grande. That's not just unfortunate, it's unthinkable. Yes, good Samaritans tried to step in. A trained lifeguard who happened to be surfing spotted Malcolm's body in the water. A doctor vacationing with his wife rushed to help, performed mouth-to-mouth, and brought him to shore. CPR was performed. An AED was used. Emergency services responded within minutes. But it wasn't enough. Despite every desperate attempt, Malcolm couldn't be saved. And while those efforts were heroic, even they weren't enough to hide the brutal truth. There were no professionals on duty, no floating devices, no dedicated response team. And as volunteer lifeguard Sofia Cordoba pointed out, people were trying to help, yes, but they were also risking their own lives because they weren't equipped. It gets worse. The same current that took Malcolm swept away another man that day. He survived, but barely, and was rushed to a clinic in critical condition. That's not just a freak accident. That's a system failure. This wasn't just a tragedy. It was a chain of missed chances, a story of warnings ignored, resources stretched too thin, and a beloved actor lost not just to the sea, but to a system that failed to protect him. His death wasn't just painful, it was avoidable. So, while the official story may label it an accident, these newly uncovered details change everything. This was a man with more to give, a voice that still mattered, and now that voice is gone, not just silenced by the water, but by the absence of the very safety net that could have saved him. And that's why we say it again, louder this time. This shouldn't have happened. But something about the story just doesn't feel right. The timing, the way it happened, and especially the message he shared just days before he died, it's all a little too strange to brush off. Warner wasn't just taking a break. He had a purpose. He was trying to speak the truth.
Can you tell me the fate of the people who consciously take the bait and embrace the very traits placed upon them by their captors who by design are inclined to keep them believing they're second rates? I'll wait.
In the final episode of his podcast, Not All Hood, released just 2 days before his death, Warner shared what fans now see as a hidden goodbye. It wasn't light or casual. It was honest, urgent, and deeply personal. He talked about a recent conversation with spoken word artist Tamika Georgia Me Harper, who questioned the name of his podcast. When he told her it was called Not All Hood, she quickly replied, "Ain't nothing wrong with the hood." That simple response hit him hard. It made Warner think deeply about how the media has pushed a narrow view of black culture, always focusing on the hood stereotype, while ignoring its depth, beauty, and strength.
Title is combating the narrative of black life or black culture that the media focuses on. And
he wasn't trying to distance himself from the hood. He was calling out the system that twists it, profits off it, and still refuses to understand it. In his own words, the hood side, ultimately, historically, is what has always created American culture. That wasn't just a passing thought. It was a bold statement about cultural theft, erasure, and the legacy that's been hidden for too long, especially by Hollywood. And Warner didn't stop there. He opened up about how his own thinking had shifted over time, especially around the phrase black excellence. He used to feel unsure about it, seeing it as something tied to fame, money, and status. But that changed after learning about how black soldiers were being left out of the historical records at Arlington National Cemetery. That hit him deeply. For Warner, real black excellence isn't about trophies or titles. It's about survival. Black survival in of itself is black excellence, he said.
The black community is not a monolith. There's so many levels and lanes to the black community, and we wanted to have a space where we could acknowledge, discuss all of those lanes.
Just survival. That line hit hard then, and it hits even harder now, knowing how suddenly his own life was cut short. It's almost as if Warner sensed something, as if he knew his time was limited, and he wanted his final message to center the truth of black endurance, struggle, and resilience. And just like that, within 48 hours of dropping this powerful, vulnerable conversation, he was gone. For an entire generation, Malcolm-Jamal Warner will always be remembered as Theodore Huxtable, the easygoing, funny, and lovable son from The Cosby Show. Week after week, he was in our living rooms, playing a teen who dealt with real things like dyslexia, growing pains, and life lessons from his TV parents. Theo felt real, and Malcolm's warmth made him someone audiences truly connected with. But behind that familiar smile, who was the real Malcolm-Jamal Warner? Dig a little deeper, and you won't find messy scandals or drama caused by him. What you'll find instead is a man who's been through a lot. Quiet heartbreak, tough decisions, and the complicated legacy of a show that's now surrounded by controversy. While others might have crumbled, Warner stayed grounded. He didn't let fame ruin him like it has with so many former child stars. He kept going, growing as an actor, a musician, and a person. He faced the fallout from Bill Cosby's scandal with grace, mourned the loss of people he loved, and managed to build a steady, respectable career in a messy industry. This isn't just the story of Theo. It's the story of a man who stayed true to himself while the world around him changed.
It's difficult not to, not to feel something, have some kind of emotional response to, what this person is going through.
The biggest and toughest controversy Malcolm-Jamal Warner ever faced wasn't one he created. It was one he got pulled into because of his longtime connection to Bill Cosby. It wasn't just about headlines or public backlash. For Warner, it was personal, emotional, and incredibly complicated. He had to walk a very fine line between staying true to himself, handling public pressure, and dealing with the pain of seeing something that shaped his life fall apart. To really understand what this meant for him, you have to know how close he was to Cosby. Cosby didn't just hire Warner, he helped shape his entire career. At just 13, Warner was handpicked from a nationwide search to play Theo. On set, Cosby became a mentor. Warner often talked about how Cosby, despite being a massive star, never acted like he was above anyone else. That humility left a big impression on him. Cosby also gave him smart advice that stuck, like not using trendy slang on the show so it wouldn't feel outdated. Years later, Warner said that tip paid off. Watching The Cosby Show with his daughter, he noticed how well the episodes still held up. Their relationship wasn't just professional, it was personal, filled with mentorship and almost father-like guidance. That's what made the scandal that followed so incredibly painful for Warner to process.
My biggest feeling is I feel sad for, just the way this whole, just the way the whole story has come about.
When over 50 women accused Bill Cosby of assault, Malcolm-Jamal Warner found himself in a tough spot. People wanted to hear what he had to say, and his response wasn't black and white. In a 2015 interview, he said, "He's one of my mentors, just as it's painful to hear any woman talk. Whether true or not, it's just as painful to watch my friend and mentor go through this." That quote shows how torn he felt. He didn't try to defend Cosby, but he also didn't completely turn away from him. As Warner put it, "I can't defend him, but I won't throw him under the bus either." He also spoke out about the media, calling it a circus. He wasn't excusing what happened, but he felt like the conversation lacked depth and fairness. Not every accusation was the same, and he wanted people to talk about it with more care. But for Warner, the hardest part wasn't just the scandal. It was seeing The Cosby Show's legacy disappear. He said it hurt to see the show pulled from TV. For him, it wasn't just a job. It was a powerful example of a loving black family on screen, something America didn't often show. In a few generations, he said, the Huxtables will just be a fairy tale. He also admitted the impact was personal. Losing syndication meant losing money. He pointed out the unfairness, too. Other controversial artists like Woody Allen and Roman Polanski still had their work shown, but The Cosby Show was wiped out. "It's literally taking money out of my pocket," he said. In the end, Warner's response showed the emotional weight of it all. He was caught between loyalty, justice, and the loss of something that once meant everything to him.
After having had such a long path and long journey, you have something like this that you've got to...
Malcolm-Jamal Warner's view of the Cosby scandal changed over time. At first, he admitted the show's legacy was tarnished. But then, a talk with his former co-star Keshia Knight Pulliam, Rudy, helped him see things differently. She reminded him that The Cosby Show had inspired a whole generation, especially young black kids, to aim higher and believe they could go to college. Warner later said, "Her saying that really shifted my perspective." That conversation changed everything for him. Instead of only seeing what was lost, he started focusing on the good the show had already done. He began to believe that the show's positive impact could still matter, even if Cosby himself had fallen. It showed Warner's growth, how he worked through his sadness and frustration and came out with a more hopeful mindset. His journey was emotional, honest, and very human. One of the most impressive things about Malcolm-Jamal Warner is that he avoided the usual child star drama. While many young actors struggled as they grew up, Warner stayed grounded. That didn't happen by chance. It was because of smart decisions and real discipline. After The Cosby Show ended, Warner worked hard to step out of Theo's shadow. He even said there was a time he hated being called Theo. He wasn't being rude. He just wanted people to see him as more than a TV kid. So he set out to prove himself in new ways. He directed shows like Kenan and Kel, made music, did spoken word poetry, and even won a Grammy for Best Traditional R&B Performance. He was also nominated for another Grammy for his poetry album. As an actor, he didn't play it safe. He took on comedy, Malcolm and Eddie, drama, Suits, The Resident, Major Crimes, and even joined the award-winning People vs. O.J. Simpson series. All of this showed that Warner's success wasn't luck. It came from years of hard work, smart choices, and refusing to be boxed in.
Because they were tired. They were tired of me fighting with the writers.
What makes Malcolm-Jamal Warner's story even more impressive is what didn't happen. While many other child stars ended up in trouble, with the law, or messy scandals, Warner stayed away from all of that. He gives credit to his mother, Pamela, who managed his career and taught him discipline early on. Even back in the 80s, Warner was already focused on sending a positive message. In 1988, he wrote a book called Theo and Me, Growing Up Okay, where he gave advice to young fans about staying drug-free and making smart choices. It wasn't about being famous, it was about being responsible. The fact that he avoided drama isn't boring. It's powerful. Warner paid attention to what went wrong for others and made sure not to repeat those mistakes. He didn't just survive being a child star, he grew up with intention. His creative work also shows how much he's grown. That early book was still tied to his TV fame, but as he got older, his projects became deeper and more meaningful. His Grammy-nominated spoken word album, Hiding in Plain View, and his 2017 short film, You Can't Hear Me, tackled serious issues like racism, mass incarceration, and deportation. These weren't just trendy topics, they were personal. Warner has said his father had him study black leaders like Langston Hughes when he was young, and that influence clearly stayed with him. Warner's path from teen star to thoughtful artist didn't happen by chance. It's what happens when someone chooses purpose over pressure and grows into their voice, no matter what the spotlight wants from them. Outside of his career, Warner also went through some deep personal pain that shaped who he is. These moments weren't splashed across headlines. They were quiet, but powerful. One of the biggest heartbreaks in his life was the death of Michelle Thomas, his ex-girlfriend and Cosby Show co-star. She played Justine, Theo's love interest. Even after they broke up in 1994, they stayed very close. In 1997, Michelle was diagnosed with a rare form of stomach cancer. She passed away in 1998 at just 30 years old, and Warner was reportedly by her side when it happened. Losing someone that close, that young, and in such a painful way changed him. He didn't talk about it in the press or turn it into a public moment. Instead, he handled it with quiet strength and reflection. That loss likely played a big role in shaping his mature, serious approach to love, life, and the way he carries himself today.
Self that no matter what's going on, there's always a reason to smile.
Years after losing Michelle Thomas, Malcolm-Jamal Warner entered a very different kind of relationship, one that played out in public. From 2011 to 2013, he dated actress Regina King. They had known each other since their teen fame days and even lived together. But their breakup came suddenly and made headlines. Reports claimed Warner asked King and her son to move out without warning. Things got even more dramatic when King, in a 2015 interview, said he broke up with her on Valentine's Day, then sent flowers with a note saying, "I still love you." She said she threw the flowers away. This breakup was a sharp contrast to the quiet grief he had experienced with Michelle Thomas. Losing Michelle had taught him how precious love can be. But the public fallout with Regina showed him how painful things can get when private life becomes tabloid news. After that, Warner changed. He stopped talking about his relationships publicly. No more interviews, no social media posts, just silence. It wasn't cold, it was protective. He had learned that some parts of life are better kept away from the spotlight. These two experiences, one private and one public, taught him deep lessons. Love is fragile, and fame can make heartbreak worse. Together, they shaped the man Warner became, grounded, wise, and guarded about what really mattered. Now that Warner is gone, fans are starting to notice a pattern, and it's hard to ignore. It seems like every time a black celebrity begins to speak openly, challenge the system, or try to tell a deeper truth, something tragic happens. Warner was stepping into a bold new chapter. He wasn't just looking back at his past, he was building something new. Through his podcast, he created a space to talk honestly about being black in America, without the filter of Hollywood. It was raw, real, and necessary. And maybe that's why his death hit so hard. He wasn't just a former child star. He had evolved into someone who used his voice to question the status quo. He was making space for deeper conversations. And that, in a world that often punishes truth-tellers, made him both powerful and vulnerable.
And we still think it's dope. Just like the music we're programmed to celebrate.
This is the same industry, after all, that lifted Warner up as a child star in the 1980s, then watched as he quietly built a meaningful career as a director, musician, and advocate, all while keeping him at arm's length. Warner was never part of the headline-hungry, paparazzi-fueled crowd. He worked, he created, he elevated conversations. And yet, his death was barely acknowledged by the Hollywood elite. No major memorial specials, no primetime tributes, just a few quiet headlines, and a whole lot of silence. For a man who shaped a generation's childhood, that silence is deafening. Malcolm-Jamal Warner deserved more than a headline. He deserved more than a footnote in the gossip blogs. He was a man with a message, one that challenged everything we've been told to accept. And now that message is all we have left. It's time we listen to it before someone else disappears. That's it for today. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.
Man, this is crazy. It wasn't a lot of information, but I looked up his YouTube channel, man. This is his YouTube channel right here. Not All Hood. I just did a search on Not All Hood. I didn't put Nah. Not All Hood, nah. But Nah stands for Not All Hood, which is pretty good. But I was noticing something, man. I mean, think about it. He only had 17,500 subscribers. He only got 193 videos uploaded. So he had just started, I don't know if he just started the podcast, but he just started uploading to YouTube, so to speak. So he probably was just learning YouTube and different things like that. And I went to you can click on videos and then go to the most popular. And his most popular video, 79,000 views, then 29,000, then it's dropping real fast. So I don't know about any other podcast. I'm just going by, I'm a YouTuber, so that's what I'm going by. So I'm gonna check some of this stuff out, man. And I suggest you guys check out some of his podcasts to try to get an idea of exactly what he was talking about. If you think that he was gaining some ground and all of a sudden somebody said they need to shut him up, you know what I'm saying? This is his Facebook page. I think that you can click here and go to his Facebook page. So he got 42,000 followers on Not All Hood on the Facebook page. Get that off of there. Not All Hood. Malcolm left the mic on. Different things that he was doing. I think it looks like to me, for somebody that has such a big impact on us as a super duper star, I think he was a super duper star. That's what I think. I'm just telling you what I think. But I don't see no big numbers, man. So I don't know, man. I'm thinking that I'm sorry that he's gone. I'm thinking that it was just a freak accident that happened. I'm praying that it was nothing crazy behind it. And everybody, you know how everybody trying to make it more than what it is. So y'all tell me what y'all think, man. If y'all think something terrible was behind it, I don't think so. I'm hoping, I'm praying that his family and everybody can just rest in peace. But of course, he was a big star, so somebody gonna talk about something. I'm looking at some of the flashbacks of the Cosby Show, and he was just perfect, man. I mean, he wasn't a superstar where you like, man, some of the ladies probably really liked him, but he was just a laid back, cool brother. You know, he didn't try to do more than what he needed to do. He was just laid back, cool, and he stayed out of the drama, you know. So I'm hoping that everybody can see that he stayed out of the drama, and don't get him twisted up in no drama, man. None of this bull. That's what I think. I'm praying that nobody get him twisted all up. So, hey, I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.